Welcome to the Lachey Johnson podcast. Today, you are going to hear a very brief conversation with a close friend of mine that has joined our book club, The Garden Within. Stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy even the fun with the technology issues that we had. We still had a great conversation. Here we go. All right, I can't hear you.
No, still can't hear me.
No? 1 second. Don't you just love technology, y'all? Give me a second. I see what's happening. All right. Try now.
Hello?
There you go. All right. I saw what happened. So I was trying to be fancy and I had my mic connected to me because sometimes the audio and the echo, but because it's plugged in, that means I can't hear unless I have the other piece connected. But I digress. It's 8:37 and we don't have a lot of time. I want to first thank you so very much for saying yes. I know this is a very busy weekend for a lot, but not busy in the sense of just running around scurrying, but because it is the weekend, he got up. We're so excited about that. And I can see how beautiful you look. So I know you have things to do. So we're in this book club. I've already done the intro. I've already talked about how we've gotten together. I've already shared how I do believe this is a divine intervention, a time like God so strategically planted this book when he needed to. God so strategically placed on our hearts as a community of women to come together to have a conversation about cultivating our hearts, tending to the soil. And so I just want to jump right into it. So one of the things that this first section that we were reading, we were encouraged to think about our goals and the goals that we set and why those goals are so hard for us to reach. Because Dr. Anita says, check the soil of your heart. And the question to you is what's going on inside of you possibly, or something that you experienced that made it really hard for you to reach your goals?
I find for me, and perhaps for many others, I find for me that when I really get to the root of what's happening, it's fear-based.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be fear of things that really are good.
Yeah.
It can be fear of success. It can be fear of being open to the public.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I go places and people stop me and say, I love your book. And it is wonderful. It's wonderful that people are being blessed by the book or by the books. On the other side of it, I don't remember the people.
Yeah. Yeah. You just said something really powerful. Like you can even be afraid of success.
Yes.
And I didn't want to jump in, but of course it's bubbling up because every time you and I connect, you're always speaking right to me. And that's what I find so beautiful about God's, sovereignty of connecting people, because he uses people to speak to others. And so I definitely can identify with that. I really can. And so when you think about a specific goal that you were looking to reach, can you remember before you gain the momentum, right? So you said you got to identify like, what is this I'm feeling? Because that's the next question that I'm going to ask you. But can you give a specific goal that was hard for you to reach?
Yeah. And I think because God knows us so well, he knows what he has to do to help us get to what we want and what he wants.
Yeah.
And I find, I will use the example of Hannah and Penina. And Hannah wanted to have this baby, and she wanted to have this baby, and she wanted to have this baby. And Penina I think they called her, she was her rival, or she provoked.
She was an antagonist.
Yeah. And I find that that's something that happens with me. I knew that I needed to leave a specific place, and I knew that it was time for me to work for me.
Mm-hmm.
And as I got closer to that moment, the heat where I worked
Mm-hmm.
was so incredibly intense.
Yeah.
And to the point where I came home one day and said, God, I promise I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
I please, just can you please just take the heat
Yeah.
off? I promise that I am going to leave.
Yes.
And the person who was giving me the most heat was out for the last 6 days that I worked there.
He gave you the relief. That's what he'll do. What they say, won't he do it?
You
He
do it.
gave you the relief. I think that's, that to me even leads to, you have not because you ask not. He does, there's nothing that he doesn't know about you. He's just waiting for you to come, not you per se, but just in general,
Right.
waiting for you to come and acknowledge what it is. Oftentimes I'll say, like, when I'm in prayer, I'm not going to him notifying him of anything new. My reason for going in prayer is to get in agreement with what he's already said.
Yeah.
Because he's a promise keeper. All right, we got a little bit more time. Here we go. So Dr. Anita, she says that there are 3 types of problematic soils. She says that we should be paying attention to all 3 of those soils. And it makes me think about the power, the sower and the seed, right? In the parable. But she says those are sadness, which is wayside soil, anger, which is stony soil, and then you have what's called fear, which is thorny soil. And my question to you is, which type of soil has had the greatest impact on your progress in life? Because I know you've written books. I know that you are a speaker. I know that you're a consultant. You are an activist. You are an advocate. Like you're doing what he's called you to do. Because we've talked about this before. Like, people will say, God called me to ministry. I'm like, you'll know. You will know,
And
because you typically ain't run into it.
yeah.
And I've been very, very, very blessed to be a part of your transition from the marketplace to where you are. So tell me, which of the 3, or maybe it's 2 of the 3, or all of the 3?
It's definitely all of the 3. Definitely all of the 3. Anger, sadness, and fear come to us all.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say profound sadness at the death of my parents, because it was so close, and they died less than a year apart. And sometimes you don't know that you are stifled until you start moving.
Whew. Whew. If I was standing up, I think my knees would have just buckled. No, I'm that just wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Major.
You just don't know. It just like I say this often, you don't know how sick you were until you start to experience wellness. And just full disclosure, I'm a pretty transparent person.
Mm-hmm.
I recognized that the more healed I was, the more it was so easy to compliment people.
Mm-hmm.
So easy to talk about how beautiful they are, how wonderful they are, the great things that they're doing, because there wasn't that anchor of anger holding me to the ground. I had the opportunity to say, I'm well, and I want everybody to be well. I want everybody to feel as good as I'm feeling right now.
Yeah. I remember a little over a year or so ago, I did a post, and it came from a conversation that I had with a friend. And I said, the healthier I get, the clearer I see me and others. And I didn't know what I was saying in that moment. But when I go back and I reflect, the healthier I become in all areas of my life, the clearer I begin to see. And so for me, when I think about the sadness, the fear, the anger, I could say the 3 areas of my life that I'm currently focusing on, which has been the same 3 for a couple of years when I do this challenge, is my relationships, is my health, and my finances. And so the fear that has kept me, or has helped me rather, to make the progress has been a doctor's appointment. You get one diagnosis that says you can't eat like that, and that you need to move your body. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When I think about the anger, it's like, yep, they did you wrong. And you should be feeling what you feeling. You see what I'm saying? And then processing what that is. But because sometimes I think that we feel like we can't talk about our feelings as believers, because won't he do it? He will do it. But it's in the acknowledgement that I'm bringing it to him to say, I feel sad.
And
I'm sad that someone that I care about has hurt me.
right.
I'm
And
angry that I mismanaged my money.
But it's won't he do it and won't you do it?
Come on, sister.
Because when you really look at so many breakthroughs in the Bible, when you see David fighting, he always asked God. He had to ask, and then he had to follow the direction, right? And you see, blind Bartimaeus calling out to Jesus. You see the woman at the well saying, "Sir, give me this water to drink."
Yes.
There's overture.
I love it.
Most of the time there's an overture, and God says, "I can partner with that." Even a man who says, about his son's illness, I believe the next thing he says, he asks, help my unbelief.
That's what he said.
And it's part of it is, and I don't know how, I never researched it. They said that in the store Lord and Taylor, that the Lord was the Lord and Taylor person. So I look at it and I say, it's Lord in major. With him, I must partner with him to deal with sadness, the anger, and the fear, because willing God to deal with all of these issues.
Yeah.
I gotta go, but I really need to say this before I go. One, thank you for pulling the book club together, because it is amazing, and I can see there's going to be so many breakthroughs there.
Yeah.
They already were.
It's not a one and done, sis. Go ahead.
The other side of this is, as somebody that worked with mental health and addiction services, there was always the deep conversation about the faith community. A lot of agnostics, a lot of atheists, and how do you combine that? And I believe that this book is that perfect tool that can get through to all communities, and to the faith community say, it's okay to have and negotiate and navigate feelings, and to the mental health and addiction community to say, here's somebody with some serious degrees.
Yes.
Who has
and experience.
And she's just, and this is not I'm not trying to be offensive to anybody, because I believe in speaking in tongues, but it's not just hookah Messiah and some oil.
Yes.
There is science, there is research, and I think from both ends, this book is just magnificent. And I'm super excited that we're going through it, and excited for the breakthroughs that the women are going to have as we navigate this. So thank you.
Yes, listen, 30 seconds to go. Thank you. and only by his spirit could we close in that way, because that was a question. My final thing was, is there anything you want to share before we leave? But by his spirit, God led you. So thank you so much. Have an amazing weekend. And listen, I'll be back next weekend with another guest, but we'll be back in our book club. Love you.
Awesome.
Take care.
Bye-bye.